We've got breaking news out of Washington, D.C. Reports are telling us that shots have been fired at the Capitol complex. The Capitol is on lockdown right now, along with the White House. U.S. Capitol Police are warning people of a potential security threat. No one is allowed to enter or exit the building. If you are inside the building, you're allowed to move around within, but if you are outside, they are telling you to seek cover. We also know that a WUSA reporter is tweeting that the potential shooter is possibly down.
Yeah, that's right. That's happening right now on Twitter, the WUSA account. But also our reporters telling us that this is not a drill and that there were reports of several shots fired in the area. We also had some witness accounts saying that a number of ambulances have headed to that scene. This is all preliminary information, of course, coming in. As it says, Congress now and White House both on lockdown after reports of a shooting on Capitol Hill. That coming across as an AP alert at this point in time.
And as Jamie mentioned, we are hearing reports that several ambulances have arrived on the scene. A huge day there at the Capitol with the Easter egg roll happening on the south lawn of the White House. A lot of tourists and visitors in and around that area.
That's, of course, that's usually a very fun day at the White House for the president and the first lady. Both come out. Now the White House under lockdown at this point in time.
We're going to go now to our producer out of Washington, D.C., Walt Cronkite. Walt, what can you tell us?
Good afternoon. I can't tell you much except that the whole complex here at the Capitol is completely locked down. People are not allowed inside or outside the buildings. A Capitol police officer tells me this is not a drill. This is a real security concern, but they can't tell us anything beyond that. Staff inside the buildings are being instructed to shelter in place, lock the doors of their offices, and not come out. So it's a complete lockdown at the Capitol complex.
Can you describe for us, we've heard that a number of ambulances have gone to the scene. Do we have any reports of maybe how many shots were fired?
I don't know if there were shots fired. There's certainly ambulances carrying their sirens around the area. Helicopters overhead that you can maybe hear. Lots of police activity and emergency response personnel. But beyond that, we don't know what the situation is.
And just, paint a picture a little bit for us, Walt, because as we know, this is a really busy day in the area with the Easter egg roll happening at the White House. The White House is also on lockdown as well. How many people, how busy is it in and around the area?
Yeah, it's the cherry blossoms are in full blossom, in full bloom here at the Capitol. And the area is up here, sir? Oh, a police officer is just telling me to move back from the front of the Capitol. But it's a gorgeous day in Washington, full of tourists coming to see cherry blossoms and check out the Capitol. And now we're being instructed to move farther away from the Capitol. So I'm just walking back now.
We want to go ahead and show a picture that our colleague at CBS Radio, Steve Portnoy, had tweeted out just a few moments ago. It's a picture that shows lots of ambulances racing to the U.S. Capitol. He says in his tweet that they're staging near the Capitol Visitor Center. Steve, though, is sheltering in place, as many people there on scene have been told. But you can see just the number of ambulances and law enforcement that are kind of in place here. And as we've seen in other situations where there is an active shooter situation happening, this is something that law enforcement does and emergency crews do so that if there are a number of victims, they can very quickly get people to hospitals and into treatment as fast as they possibly can. But I can see at least 2 ambulances in this picture and at least a half a dozen law enforcement vehicles there and a fire truck. Congress is on lockdown. The White House is on lockdown. People being told to shelter in place. This is a live picture now from Washington, D.C. Walt, can you talk about what it's been like? We've had obviously the Paris attacks back in November. Now you had the Brussels attack. Living here in New York, I know we've seen a lot of law enforcement, with long guns and that kind of thing here. Security been very, very tight. Can you describe for us what it's been like around Washington, D.C.?
Security wasn't any tighter than it has been in the past few years. Security around the Capitol is always intense. You have to go through metal detectors to walk into the building, and routinely you see officers patrolling with automatic weapons. And now I have an ambulance just leaving from the front of the Capitol right now, right in front of me, with 2 police cars following the ambulance. It's a fire department ambulance. And 2 Capitol police cars are racing behind the ambulance down the street.
Just to recap, Walt, we just want to, update our viewers now. Reports that shots were fired at the Capitol within the last half hour. Congress is on recess, but right now the entire U.S. Capitol complex is on lockdown. The White House is also on lockdown. Anybody outside, they are being told to seek shelter. People inside, as we were talking about, Stephen Portnoy, our Capitol reporter, he is seeking shelter inside, but he sent out this picture, as Jamie mentioned, with the ambulances on location there. Walt, can you we understand that the shots were reportedly fired at near the visitor complex. Could you just give us lay out the geography for us and tell us where that is in relation to the rest of the situation?
So the visitor center is a new addition built about 10 years ago. It's in between the front of the Capitol and the Supreme Court and the Library of Congress buildings. So you kind of have to walk down. It's an underground complex, but the entrance is outside to the east of the Capitol, in between the Capitol and the Library of Congress and the Supreme Court.